Experts are predicting a coral bleaching crisis in 2024, driven by soaring land and sea temperatures. A professor from the University of Queensland is sounding the alarm about the impending catastrophe, emphasising its critical impact on coral reefs, describing it as uncharted territory and a potential tipping point. Historically, data suggests that extreme marine heat waves in 2023 could lead to a mass bleaching event in Indo-Pacific in 24 and 25. Coral bleaching occurs when coral loses their algae due to stress factors like high temperatures, posing a severe threat to these ecosystems. The Wire's Vanessa Gatica speaks with Kathy La, an environmental science graduate from Melbourne University, about the looming crisis of coral bleaching and mortality expected in 2024.
What is coral bleaching and how does it occur?
Yeah, so a coral reef is an underwater ecosystem which provides food and habitat to several marine organisms. There are these zooxanthellae, which are a type of algae that reside in their tissues, and they not only give the corals their colour, but also provide them with the food and energy necessary to survive through photosynthesis. Now, when corals are subjected to stressful conditions, these algae are expelled. What we have left is essentially a white skeleton, which will most likely die without the zooxanthellae, and this is what we call coral bleaching.
What are the main causes of coral bleaching?
So there are a number of different environmental stresses that can trigger a bleaching event. Pollution is one of them. For instance, runoff can carry pollutants like pesticides or herbicides into the ocean. Invasive species can also cause harm to our corals. The Northern Pacific sea star is one such example we have in Australia, and it's known to prey quite aggressively on some of our native marine species, which then results in a decline in native biodiversity. Overfishing and unsustainable fishing practices can also lead to a decline in key reef species and weaken these ecosystems. And one of the other main causes of coral bleaching is the warming of sea temperatures. Corals can be quite sensitive to changes in temperature, and heat can definitely be a source of stress, which there are growing concerns around, especially in the context of climate change.
How does coral bleaching impact marine ecosystems and the environment?
The effects of coral bleaching can be quite pervasive because corals are considered to be a keystone species in marine ecosystems. It's said that about a quarter of the global fish population are reliant on these reefs. And as I touched on before, the loss of coral reefs can lead to a significant reduction in these reef fish species. So mass coral bleaching events have the potential to really tip our marine ecosystems out of balance. And reefs can recover from bleaching events given sufficient time and conditions, but this will take years.
What are some of the most promising solutions to prevent or mitigate coral bleaching?
There are innovative solutions coming out all the time, especially from the scientific community. Some of these include improving water quality, establishing reef restoration projects, building up important coastal habitats like seagrasses and mangroves, and there are even heat-resistant corals that have been developed by scientists. But one of, if not the greatest solution to coral bleaching is the commitment to limit global warming. There are a lot of targets being set to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, which would alleviate a large number of environmental issues. And whether or not we follow through with that commitment is a different story, but it's one that we need to uphold in order to reach a positive outcome here.
What can individuals do to help protect coral reefs and prevent coral bleaching?
There are definitely things that we can do here and there on an individual level. One of them is to simply respect the corals as living beings. Corals are actually animals with a very rudimentary body plan. And so sometimes our interactions with a reef can be damaging. Reefs can be hotspots for diving and tourist activities in general, but it's important that we avoid direct contact with the corals. Then there are other things like wearing reef-friendly sunscreen and eating sustainable seafood. But personally, I think one of the greatest things we can do is to educate ourselves on the issue where possible and just to have conversations with the people around us. I believe that those conversations can help us make more informed decisions, especially when it comes to voting for political parties that align with our own values.
That was Kathy La, an environmental science graduate from Melbourne University, speaking to the Wire's Vanessa Gatica.